Blog Talk Radio.
Following ingredients include a look behind the scenes. Cook uncovered until hot. Add grooves to taste.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. The 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio, live from Hollywood, Florida, with your host and hostess, Mark Angelo and Jessica Lynn Cummings. For trans folks, by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard.
Well, hello and good evening. Welcome to another edition of Transition Radio. Thank you for joining us tonight, Friday night, an awesome night. I know many of you are looking forward to the weekend, so are we. Tonight, we have a very special guest. Before we bring her on, we want to thank our sponsor,
thebreastformstore.com. They have everything you need for your cross-dressing and transgender needs. Visit their website and tell them Transition Radio sent you.
Tonight we have Kokumo. An African-American transgender woman, a product of Chicago's South Side. While growing up, the only messaging she received in regards to her identity was that it would lead to her death or institutionalization. Therefore, upon reaching the age of opportunity, she was behooved to give herself a name that spoke of life. After extensive search and emotional journey, she discovered Kokumo. Kokumo means this one will not die in Yoruba, a West African language.
To Kokumo, surviving is passe. Therefore, she believes in sanctioning artistic, political, and actual space for other trans, gender nonconforming, and intersex, TGI, people of color to thrive in. In accordance to this belief and her name, she created Kokumo Media. Kokumo Media uses film, music, and literature to create and generate realistic depictions of TGI people of color.
Kokumo Media has produced some of the most innovative projects and events in the multimedia industry, from the One Trans Woman Show, The Faggot Who Could Fly, to TGIF, TGI Freedom, Rally, and Picnic. Kokumo is stoking the flames of a renaissance. Her EP, There Will Come a Day, debuted in February of 2013, while her debut album, I Shall Not Be Denied, is due next spring.
Now, welcome to our show, the talented Kokumo. Hi, Kokumo. How are you, honey?
Hello, how are you?
Doing fantastic.
We were so
Thank you. I'm
excited.
so happy to be here.
Yes, and I was saying we were so excited we couldn't wait to have you on the show. You are an amazing, talented woman. Your voice is wow. I mean, I can't wait for the listeners to listen to your voice. So we're very honored and thankful to have you tonight on our show.
Yeah. And you met her singing voice?
Yes.
Because they can hear her voice right now.
Well, her singing voice is what I meant.
Okay.
She's always pulling my leg.
I always got to give her more time, the whole this thing and everything like that.
Yeah, she makes fun. It's like, you've heard of Ricky Ricardo and Lucille Ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Ricky Ricardo. I'm from Cuba, and my Spanglish sometimes is just, pathetic.
And instead of a redhead, I'm a blonde.
Oh, okay.
Well, Kokumo, tell us who gave you the message that being who you are would lead to death or institutionalization, and what do you have to say to them today?
Well, you know what? I would say that the world gave me that message, and unfortunately, it's the message that just about every trans person, every gender nonconforming, and every intersex person receives as well. You know, and with me being a black trans woman, it was a specific message. You know, it was the message that I'm trans, and that's problematic, and I'm black, and that's problematic, and I'm a black trans woman. So, you know, growing up on the south side of Chicago, I had to deal with poverty as well as racism and you know, as well as the transphobia, you know. And so I feel like it really is a message that marginalized people in general face. And if anything, what I would like to tell those people who believe that, I would actually like to tell them that it's not the truth. You know, I'm beautiful. I'm a beautiful trans woman. I'm a beautiful black person. I'm a beautiful black trans woman. And those things aren't anything to be ashamed of. You know, there's a legacy that I have within me. And the thing is, unfortunately, I believe that people spew out what they've been taught themselves. You know, I feel like we live in a world where if you quite frankly, if you aren't white or if you aren't heterosexual, if you aren't cis-bodied, you know, your body and your existence becomes trivialized or vilified. And, you know, I feel like growing up in a community of color around poor people, I feel like if I could let them know that the lies they told you were lies, they could free themselves too. You know, so that's what I would tell the people now, is that we're beautiful and we're more than they can comprehend. So let's be all that we can be.
Well, you know what I think of them? I think fear of the unknown is what creates all this prejudice, and fear that they are not as good as they think they are, so they have to put down individuals that are of different colors, of different race, of different gender and sexuality. So I believe that they are the minority and we are the majority, and they're trying to make it seem like it's the opposite. And I believe that we stand proud and loud and just be who we are, that we will change the message that the world has given society about what is different.
Yeah.
Kokumo is a beautiful name. Can you share with us, how did you come about giving yourself that name, and can you go into detail about this, about the meaning of your name?
Most definitely. So my name means this one will not die, and I just feel like I had to give myself a name that that was transcendent, you know, because the experiences, the convergence of me being black, of me being a trans woman, of me being plus size, of me being dark skinned, of me being lower class, like all of those. The convergence of all of those experiences and identities created a unique experience for me. And there was a point in my life, and there still are points in my life, where it just seems bleak, you know, because the thing is, when you are a marginalized person, when you are a trans woman or a trans person or a TGI person, I believe it's everyone's desire to thrive in the world, but there are just so many systems set up in place that make it hard for us. You know, I feel like it's hard for anybody, but when you're a TGI person, especially a TGI person of color, you know, the simplest things that most people take for granted, we have to fight tooth and nail for. You know, like just being respected, just having our pronouns acknowledged, using the bathroom we want to, getting an education, having a job, having a place to stay. You know, those things become things that we learn to fight fiercely for, and when we get it, our self-esteem goes up. And I had to give myself a name that took my self-esteem to another level, because, you know, growing up on the south side of Chicago, I love the south side. You know, it's my home, it's where I come from, so I never speak of it negatively. You know, when I think about the south side of Chicago, I think about America. I think about capitalism, and I think about how capitalism makes sure that it has a group of people that it can oppress. And I had to give myself a name that told me that I was more than the poverty that I grew up in. And that's where Kokumo came from. You know, with me being in love with my culture of being a black woman and of being a descendant of Africans. You know, I needed a name that went back to the language that I no longer could speak, that was stolen from me. I needed a name that spoke to every aspect of who I am as a black person, as a trans person, you know, and that's what Kokumo does. It's genderless. It's actually used, it's typically given to women, but for me it's genderless because it says this one will not die, you know, and I feel like as an artist, I feel like it's important that I give myself a name like that because I can't have children, you know. That was a choice I took when I, you know, went to, have a castration because I'm a trans woman and we all have our own journey. And I figure if I can't have physical children, I'll have artistic children. So long after I've died, my art will still be here speaking for me. And that's why I say this one will not die.
That's a beautiful name and a beautiful meaning. I think as Cuban, I was pretty much made fun of. They used to call us spick when we came from Cuba back in 1969. But I believe that differences in the world is a beautiful thing. We teach each other different culture, different flavors of food, and I believe that it really is a minority of people out there that hate. I think people of the world are learning, they're growing to understand, and we're evolving that not everyone is the same, and to learn from one another and to come from a place of love is the only way we're going to heal as a species. I believe if we want to see the change, we need to be the change that we want to see within the world. And coming from a place of love is something that I believe will heal this planet and the people in it.
Absolutely. And actually, if I had to say, America is not actually, there's the actual Native Americans are actually minorities, biggest minorities, because they no longer exist. Everybody in America has come from another place, from another country, and my ancestors from Ireland, and Mark's ancestors came from Cuba, and all these people that came from different nationalities, different countries, all came to America. So America is a mixture of a lot of nationalities, and the true no longer Native American.
The true habitants of this planet are all natives, whether it's the American Indian, whether it's the African, whether it's my own culture, the Tahini, which is an Indian tribe that was from Cuba. They got slaughtered by Columbus, who slaughtered all the natives, who created slavehood. It's crazy. So we need to take our power back, and we need to do it with love. Let me ask you, Kokumo, what is Kokumo Media all about?
Thank you. In a nutshell, I would say that Kokumo Media is my weapon. I always say that art is my weapon. I feel as if trans women of color, especially black trans women, because that's the only trope that I know. I believe in solidarity, but I don't believe that I can speak for anybody else, and I never try to. I speak my story, and I speak what I know. And as a black trans woman, I know that the media has only slandered me. The media has only disrespected and oppressed me, and women like me. And I've been quoted as saying, when the world wages a war on my womanhood, art is my weapon. When the world sickens me, art is my medicine. And that's what Kokumo Media Inc. is. It's my catalyst to create the change that I need to survive, to live. I always say this, I create art and I do this work because I'm saving my life. I feel like there's a choice that I make. There's a choice that we make as TGI people, especially TGI people of color. You can either choose to become the stereotype and the statistic that dominant society wants you to become, or you can say no, and you can build, and you can resist. And what I'm doing is I'm building and I'm resisting my own company, and it's called Kokumo Media Inc. And via Kokumo Media Inc., I use all of the aspects that I've been, imbued with by birth to create the representations that I need to see. It's unfortunate that I've always known I was trans, but I never had the word for it. But moreover, I never really wanted to admit it, because what I knew about trans was people on Jerry Springer, or people on Maury. I didn't know that trans women could be lawyers. I didn't know that trans women could be leaders. And that didn't happen until I got older. But the thing is, I feel like the media has played so much a part in damaging the reputation and the self-esteem and the self-worth and the lives, quite frankly, of trans women, of trans people, of TGI people, that I feel like the only way that we can counteract it is by creating our own institutions, you know? And that's what Kokumo Media Inc. is, via music, via literature, via philanthropy, you know, via my art. I am creating the representations via my play, The Faggot Who Could Fly, which is a documentary play, a docu-play that'll be out soon this year, via, you know, my event TGIF, Trans, Gender Non-Conforming Intersex Freedom, that takes place this July 28th in Chicago, Illinois, from 12 until 4. We welcome everybody. You know, it's a rally and a picnic for the TGI community. Via the art that I do, via my album, which will be out next year, I Shall Not Be Denied, and my EP, which is out now that we're touring for, I believe in creating the messages that I needed to hear. You know, I feel like you've got to do the work now so that the next generation coming up knows that there are people who are making space for you, that you have a space in this world, because that's like what happens is trans
that's
people,
awesome,
TGI
man.
people. I'm sorry?
I said that's awesome. That's exactly what we have to do is create our own platform. That's what we created, Transition Radio. And you mentioned the show Maury. I was on.
I'm sorry, I was rambling. I'm sorry.
Okay. The Maury Povich show, which I was on, which I highly educated people on that show, and I'm glad I did because it really changed the way a lot of people viewed us as transgender individuals. I want to share one of your performances. It's called Mad World, and I think that was an amazing song, so we're going to play it now for the listeners.
It's a very, very bad world.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. You can definitely see people be paralyzed. Yeah, there we go. You can definitely sing. Tell us about this art form you have chosen, and do you write all your own material?
Yes. First, let me apologize. Please understand, I have no. I did not mean to disrespect anybody who's done the show. For me, it was more a matter of like I feel like you definitely were the exception. You know, being able to illuminate the experiences in our bodies. But I feel like the way that talk shows traditionally have shown trans people is in a very, sideshow, let's make fun of them type of way. And that's, from my experience, something that negatively impacted me. But I definitely want you to know that I have nothing but respect for you and the work that you do. And, I definitely have respect for the people who've done those shows. Please understand that before I say anything else.
I've always said that, you can take a bad situation and make it into a good one. That's why I've never turned down on this show, because I figure there's always somebody there that one's heart could be touched. And I always go from a place of love. I'm a very spiritual person, not religious, but I feel that we are like little warriors of love to help teach the world how to love unconditionally. So when we plant our seeds, we help that beautiful tree of love grow and change the world one person at a time.
Yes.
So,
and I thank you for doing the work. I thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much, Hugo. We enjoy it, believe me. So how has your transition been? Thank you. How has your transition been, and how would you like to share with our listeners the highlight of your path as a transgender female?
Most definitely. So, it's been beautiful, It's been beautiful in the sense that I have been able to finally get the body that I knew I always needed. But it's been beautiful, but it's been a beautiful struggle because I am a Black trans woman. And so for me, the struggle has been being educated, which I am. I have a bachelor's, and I'm currently pursuing a terminal degree. And I've done work in the not-for-profit industrial complex, and it's been a struggle because I feel like what's happened and what happens a lot of times in the not-for-profit industrial complex is they make sure that they get a trans woman, specifically a trans woman of color, and they make sure that they give her a position, but they don't really give her power. And so, for me, transitioning, that was the easy part. I took hormones, and the woman I was, she came to life. But what's been hard has been learning to live my life and navigate and negotiate power and institutions as a Black woman, as a Black trans woman, and as a youth, because I'm only 24. So it's, been an ongoing struggle of having my expertise, my lived experience, my intelligence questioned and undermined because I am a Black trans woman and because I'm Black, in places that were supposedly made for me, in spaces that are LGBT friendly, in spaces that are trans specific. There's been a lot of me. There's been many episodes of me having to negotiate and explain my validity and my worth in this movement that is social justice and queer liberation to non-Black people, non-Black trans women, and things like that. So I feel like that's the biggest issue. I feel like the actual transition, it's different for everybody, but for me it was a matter of taking hormones or just sticking to it. But the biggest issue has just been negotiating and living life as a Black woman, and it's a beautiful struggle every day. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Right. Absolutely not. Why not? Why would anybody want to change that? I went through the same thing, transition and everything like that, and it's like, that's the easy part, like you said, taking the hormones and being dedicated to bring that woman to life, and, that's what we've done, and I don't really care what anybody out there thinks, at least not anymore. I did at first a little bit, I have to admit, I did have a problem with it, but what are your views on all the changes we have seen in our trans community, and where do you hope to see trans artists heading in the future?
Most definitely. You know what? I love the fact that gay people and non-trans people have made so many gains, like Frank Ocean and Azalea Banks and Ellen and Rosie O'Donnell. Like these gay people, these homosexual people have created brands and empires and institutions. I applaud that. What I would love to see is that very same thing happening for trans, gender nonconforming, and intersex people. We are artists. I know so many TGI artists who can sing, who are writers, who are playwrights, who are just innovators. And the thing is, we're so busy just trying to eat and pay our rent, and find a place to pay rent for, that we really don't have the time to dedicate to our art. And we really don't even have the social understanding of what to be trans, nonconforming, intersex is. So we can't really afford to create brands the way that gay people can. And that's something I'd love to see. I'd love to see more people who are TGI, especially Black trans women, creating their own institutions and developing their own brands and no longer being tokenized, because that happens so much. I feel like, I love Beyonce. People talk so much about her. And, and the whole thing about Beyonce and Jay-Z going to Cuba recently, it was just funny because people were so mad, but I was like, I just feel like that's a sign that whenever you are a person of color and you attain power and you've worked for it, the world will always be mad, but that's okay, because I look at them and I go, that's progress. And I want to see that very same thing for TGI artists of color. There are so many, like Dr. Courtney Ryan Ziegler, James Welch, Angelica Ross. There are so many, Laverne Cox, so many writers and artists and filmmakers who are trans and TGI. And I just really want us to no longer, get awards that really don't mean anything or feed us. I want us to be able to feed ourselves off of our art, because I feel like we inform society in a way that nobody even notices yet. But I feel like the movement is just growing, and I'm elated to be a part of it. I'm happy to be joining the ranks.
All right, awesome. Coco, we have 2 minutes and 27 seconds left of the live show. Once the live show ends, it will go on recording, and people can listen to the rest of the show on demand. But I didn't want you to do a short little a cappella for us, if you would do us the honor, 30 seconds or so. A little a cappella.
No problem. Do you want it now?
Yes. Now we're going to listen to Kokumo sing a cappella.
Okay, give me just a second. I've got to get my diva on. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm ready. I took a lemon tea real quick.
Wait, damn, girl.
I said I want to touch the earth. I want to break it in my hands. I want to grow something wild and unruly. I want to sleep on hard ground on a blanket made of rainbows and something made of yours. Oh, it sounds so good to me. Yes, it sounds so good to me.
One thing I wanted to add, my dreams of the world is for the world to stop dividing one another, whether it's a person of color, whether we are of different sexual preference, that we look at each other as one people, one planet, one, and stop the wars between one another, and stop thinking that we have to defend our color, our sexual preference, our gender identity, that we could just be and love each other unconditionally. And I think that is the lesson here that we, as a species on this planet, is meant to learn. Kokumo, we want to thank you so much. We would love to have you on our TV show as soon as you get all the Skype and all that stuff put together.
Yes, I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll be in touch with you. I'm going to install it next week.
Appreciate it. So let me know when you do, and I will schedule you in for one of the TV shows, which is an hour. It's also live, and it's done via Skype. And I think the viewers would love to see you and let your message be heard. That's what Transition
Thank
Radio
you.
is all about. Thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you.
our show. We've enjoyed your lovely voice and message.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everyone.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us yet again for another show, and hope you enjoyed Kokumo and her beautiful music and message. Stay tuned for Sunday's show at 4 p.m. We have Skylar, and FPM performer. You will definitely enjoy this show. He's a talented young man with a heart of gold. And, we want to thank everyone again. We want to let you know something here. We love you, but remember to always love yourself too. Good night, folks, and thank you, and see you Sunday.